And this begins as no fewer than 2.8 million voters are expected to decide who governs Anambra State for the next 4 years. The governorship election is the first to be held under the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, and that's Professor Joash Amupitan, who assumed office on October 23rd. INEC said a total of 790 registered voters were eligible to participate, including 140,370 newly registered voters across the state's 326 wards. Earlier, some observers joined us to discuss what they felt about the conduct of the election so far.
This is one heavily populated voter center, and usually by now you will see very long queues and all that, and then behind me you're seeing trickles of people. As a matter of fact, we have what looks like crowd because some of them are just standing to see. Those who are queuing are just very little. But interesting news, just behind me is the only polling unit in this polling station that has the magnifying glasses for persons with albinism. Now the reason for that is because we guided INEC in terms of where to deploy, and because we within our data it indicates that we have one person with albinism, they deployed one magnifying glasses in readiness for that person. That's a good development, because you don't want to disenfranchise anybody just because that person is one person. One person can change the dynamics of what the result will look like. So there are interesting dynamics playing out. I moved around. My focus was on the vehicular movement. I wanted to see what the street looks like, and the streets are empty. The security operatives at the roadblocks are a bit more cooperative. When they saw the fact that I was an observer, they opened the door for us to go. One of them was proving a little bit stubborn because he was talking to the driver. So I kept saying to him, look at me, I'm the one he's carrying. The vehicle has INEC clearance, and when he saw that, he just quickly opened and we passed. So there are also incidences where they sort of like, I would call it delay, not necessarily an arrest, where people that didn't have the permission were cordoned off. They were cordoned off and told to park.
Well, this election has been underpinned by 3 tests. The first test is efficiency test. And what we were actually observing is whether INEC will break the jinx of late commencement of elections. Because in multiple election cycles, 2013, 2017, 2021, INEC has recorded late commencement across polling units. But for this election, there seemed to be an improvement. One of the things that we have observed is that there was early commencement in about 48% of polling units, and this is based on Yaga Africa's statistical sample. So in 48% of polling units, the election officials arrived at 7:30. And so it does show that there is an improvement in the deployment and the management of election logistics. I think what's a bit concerning is just the level of turnout. As you can see, in this polling unit, I have over 3,000 voters, but I doubt if we've had over 300 voters who are casting their vote here. So that's the biggest concern.
And now joining us are our correspondents who are covering the elections in Anambra State to give us a bit of update so far. Let's start with Austin Azu, who is in Nnewi South. Austin, tell us what's the situation where you're at the moment.
Good afternoon, Judith. We are currently at Ward 2, Units 012 and 013. and this is the current polling unit where the APC governorship candidate, that's Nicholas Ukachukwu, just voted about 11:43 a.m. And however, you can see voting is ongoing, and a lot of persons have come here to vote, and a lot of persons have equally raised concerns about some of the, some of the things they saw. Observers have, given their own accounts about the alleged vote buying process that is ongoing across the state, according to what they said. But however, the governorship candidate of the APC equally affirmed to that after voting not quite long, and equally talked about voters' intimidation, and of course he's crying for what the opposition are doing against his own correct party. But nevertheless, we have the younger brother of the APC governorship candidate here, that's Sonny Ukachukwu. Sonny Ukachukwu, how are you doing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
All right, the D-Day is here. So tell us how has been the voting process so far in this particular polling unit?
Oh, to be very frank, there's a lot of different from what we used to witness before. To start with, INEC came as early as possible, unexpected, because after 8 they were here, meaning they mobilized properly, and under 10 minutes the booth was set for the electorate to start casting their vote. Of course, I casted my vote already, and it took me like less than 2 minutes to cast my vote, which to say that is very seamless. I'm very impressed with the performance of the INEC and improved INEC this particular period. That shows that they really mobilize very well, and they're actually on the verge, because most times where problem comes is late commencement, and once that happens, everywhere start getting rowdy on that. But you can see the polling unit has been very calm, because there were people comes in, do their voting, and then some of them wait to see their vote count, and some other people also take off.
Okay, now you are the younger brother to the APC governorship candidate, that's Nicholas Ukachukwu. From what you heard from him some time ago, not quite long, can you affirm those words he spoke about voters' intimidation, vote buying?
Yeah, to be very frank, of course, because yes, I've been domiciled into this, because this is where I have to express my friendship. But the particular issue is that we've been getting calls from our agents from different places about the intimidations, about vote buying, and about also this issue of more especially is about vote buying, carrying money, very visible within the section of within the surround of the units, and also intimidation, also much intimidation. So, and staggering incidents also. That is the reports we have been getting from our agents in different polling units.
Okay, can you confirm to us those responsible for this assault, intimidation, vote buying? Can you confirm the name of the political party?
Of course, you don't really need to to ask, because there's two contenders on this. You talk of APUGA and you talk about APC, and when you see very visible that they are even forcing some people, no, don't openly, you should thumbprint to APUGA. So one doesn't need to start looking for who are the people that are actually penetrating that. Definitely is coming from them.
Okay, before I let you go, we have equally got some signals from some of our colleagues in other parts of the state that there are low turnouts of voters already. Though it's midday already, did you have that information as well?
No, to be very frank to you, it has been a massive turnout here. Like I said, I've been here since 8 o'clock, and at first, people weren't early, thinking that it's business as usual, that INEC is not going to be here early. But when they got the information that INEC arrived early, so it has been a very, we have had a good turnout. Very, very good one, unlike what we have been seeing before. And coupled with the fact is that people really want to come and vote, because they want to vote a person of their choice, and they want to vote for what they believe. They want to vote for what they've seen before, and that's why you can see, if you looked around, I'm sure you have been here for quite some time, you see a lot of people coming, voting peacefully. They will go. We are very, very circumspect, very careful in this because we don't want to leave any trace. Because, you know, for the fact that this center happens to be the center of the gubernatorial candidates. So so many eyes will be on this center. So we are very careful to make sure that nothing abnormal is being entertained. Rather, things have been moving very smoothly.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sonny Ukachukwu. Wish you the very best. All right. From what the younger brother to the APC governorship candidate just told us right now is quite certain. We hope to investigate this in our subsequent findings as we remain here committed to provide live updates about the ongoing governorship election in the state. So back to you, the studio.
Osinazu, many thanks for that update. Osinazu there, correspondent live from Nnewi South, the polling unit for the APC governorship candidate. The off-cycle governorship election in Anambra State has commenced, as you can see from our report there, on a positive note in several parts in the state. One of them is Ikwolubia and Isofia communities within the Aguata local government area. Now, election materials arrived as early as 6:30 a.m. at some polling units, while usual voting began around 8:30 a.m. in others. So far, only minor glitches have been reported. For News Central, here's Chinwe Ugeli with her report.
The much anticipated Anambra gubernatorial election 2025 is finally here, and the people to cast their votes for their preferred candidates.
I got really well.
The officials here, they tried, because before the commencing of the election, they addressed the public, they addressed the people here, they give us their do's and don'ts, and the people are adhering to it.
They have also expressed some concerns in some polling units where the beavers machines are posing challenges.
I'm not scared. I know everything will be normalized.
Okay.
I'm ready because I've devoted the whole of today for this exercise.
We have 006 and 007. 007, people have been voting, but here in 006, we are stuck with the network issue. Nobody has voted here, but I think they are working on it now to stabilize the network.
There are also presence of security operatives at some polling units that we visited this morning.
By Ben they come. Are they like before Gabo, but I been and they want to die for ever bribe much. Then your mother will see her to Yolonia. We open and Naga, no Kuna line.
We don't have no fracas, no quarrels. You don't see people bickering. Everybody is just calm. We're just waiting to exercise our franchise and then go.
Expectedly, at the end of this exercise, everybody will be happier that the Independent National Electoral Commission actually lived up to its burdens. In Oka, for News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
And thanks to Chinwe for that report. You're watching news now on News Central Television. We're bringing you more updates as Victor is on standby. Victor Mbadike is our correspondent live in Anambra. But first, let's go on that break. Stay with us. And welcome back. It's the coverage, or rather, Anambra is still at the polls as they head to decide who will lead the state for the next 4 years. Now, through the hour, we'll be bringing you updates from our correspondents who are stationed across different wards and polling units in the state. Well, joining us now as well is Victor Mbadike to give us more update. Victor, good afternoon to you, and well done. What's the situation where we're at the moment?
Well, Judith, it's just about past the hour of 12, less than 2 hours before the official closing of the election. And if you look behind me, it doesn't look good. So this is precisely at Aruma Junction, Aguata, Police Unit 8. So you find basically police officers, security agents just seated, and electoral officers just seated chatting away their time. I understand that about 2,471 persons registered at these polling units. But in terms of total vote cast here so far, since the beginning of this election, or when voting started, we really had about less than 100 to as a matter of fact. That's really poor. I don't know what is going on, but this is supposed to be a very major election in the state, but it does show that the voter party here is really clearly pronounced compared to other places that we've been. So Judith, I don't know if it's going to improve in number, but that's the situation. But again, in terms of security, it's obvious the security personnel have been doing their job professionally. We've not really had any major incidents. Otherwise, I would have brought that to your knowledge. But that's what you have. Aguata again, Awima Junction here in Awka South. Clearly I don't even have anyone to speak to. But that's how bad it is. I don't even have any voter to talk to. Maybe if I'd come earlier, but at the moment, none of them is on site. So if we stick around, maybe they will come in trickles or in doubles, but Judith, it's really sad.
Yeah, Victor, I gotta say, you lose some, you win some. Maybe in this case, maybe they're waiting until the sun sets a bit. I don't know. I also don't know, but I do want to make a case and also say it might be too early to call. If I can recall, I don't know if it was in 2019 during the presidential elections, in my unit or my ward, we had polling unit officers going around houses and hitting their gongs and asking people to come out and vote. And to compare that 7 years ago, about 6 years ago, and now, it begs to ask a question about why Nigerians keep losing the hope to vote. But Victor, many thanks. We appreciate you. Victor Mbadike there, our correspondent live, just explaining to us just a saddening case of I won't say voter apathy, but low turnout at that polling unit there. Let's bring in more in-depth analysis on what we're seeing at the polls. Now, joining us to discuss is a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst, Barrister Vincent Otakpopo. He joins me live from Abuja. Mr. Barrister, many thanks for joining us. We appreciate you for coming on. 2.8 million registered voters participating in the Anambra governorship election. To that number were fresh additions of voters during the continuous voters assessment exercise. And yet, whilst in some polling units we've seen considerable amount of turnout, the others we've seen quite low from what Victor, our correspondent, is telling us. Do you think that this 2.8 million voter will play a significant role in the turnout at the end of the day? Are we going to see another low turnout at the polls? Your thoughts?
Yes, thank you for having me. I want to first of all commend the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the current the new chairman of the commission for the testimonies on the streets of Anambra State with respect to the early delivery of materials, election materials. I happen to also come from Anambra State, from Umuchuku, Urubastad local government of Anambra State. And as at 7:30, 8 o'clock, the materials were already deployed and accreditation had already commenced in my own village and the polling unit. So I want to commend INEC for that. It's an improvement from the last experience in 2021. Now, with respect to the low turnout of voters in some areas, and in areas you have a lot of people on the queue to exercise their franchise. In terms of the low turnout of voters, with respect to the last report from your correspondent from Awka, it shows the disconnection between the people and the people that have voted for over the years, where people have lost interest in the voting, in the right and their request to exercise their right to vote and to be voted for as constitutionally granted, because absence of amenities. The people that have voted, there's a disconnection kind of between the people that have voted and the people that have voted for over the years, where the government have failed to provide the amenities, infrastructure, care for the people. So people do not actually believe that the vote will count. So INEC must continue to demonstrate that culture of free, fair, credible electoral process as we are seeing today, so that people will have this assurance that the vote will count, as to encourage them to come out. Because what have you? Sometimes people, because of hunger and insecurity, and as the case may be, some people may be even afraid to come out. But I think relatively, we have enjoyed the relative peace in Anambra State. So the low voter turnout may be attributable to the absence of the disconnection between the people. I will take you, one of the African presidents said, what right has a subsistence farmer if he scratches a bare living from the soil, provided the rain did not fall and the children work at his side without schooling, feeding, and good health? Certainly he has right to vote and to be voted for, but all these are meaningless. So as the case, the election going in Anambra State is quite commendable in some area. People turn out in mass. It's a bit impressive. People like in Nnewi, Kulobia, and as the case may be. But you know that Nnewi is where the APC governorship candidate comes from, and the Kulobia, Aziz in Sofia, Aguata is where the current governor, the APGA governorship candidate, come from. So right. I think it's impressive, and there's need for INEC to do more, as the case may be.
So, I mean, you talked about concerns when it comes to voter turnout, right? Maybe some of the voters might be thinking this is business as usual. They may not arrive on time. There's also the case of security as well, but that has been dispelled as we've seen the amount of personnel that are on the ground to ensure safety, and we've not heard any case of violence or even ballot snatching or the likes. And so one has to ask about how then can INEC close the gap? Because this is somewhat of a litmus test, so as my co-host mentioned earlier, an entrance examination for Joash Amupitan into the elections for Nigeria. As we head to 2027, what then should he be taking into cognizance to increase voter turnout? Because if we're comparing this year on year, by 2027, there's a lot that might be off the table.
Yes, thank you for the question. This is part of the clamor for constitutional amendment we have been asking. Which have raised a contentious issues, there's need to amend the Constitution of Nigeria and the Electoral Act. With respect to the current Electoral Act, there's no provision with respect to the number of persons that is required to participate in election at a particular polling unit, as the case may be. So we need to amend the constitution to include that at every election, be it governorship, presidential, House of Assembly, reps, or Senate, that to encourage people to participate, at least 50% plus one of registered voters in that area must be able to ready and cast their vote to be able to elect their leader. And where such is not the case, the election should be shifted. There must be, because it is quite unfortunate, it's not commendable that you have 2 million registered voters or 2,000 registered voters and they have less than 100 or at least above 100 coming to vote. That cannot demonstrate to mean that the person who have emerged enjoys the acceptance and the approval of the people. So there must be a way to encourage people to come out. INEC has to go through through the National Assembly for constitutional amendment to encourage the people. Then the government have to do more. If you provide the social amenities, if you provide the healthcare, if you provide the educational amenities, which is constitutionally granted under fundamental objective and narrative principles of state policy from section 15, 17, 18, 19, up to 19 as the case may be, let the people enjoy the dividend of democracy. That day they will troop out to vote. That day they will be even eager to vote. Everybody will be on the street to vote, because to guard against this lack of interest to vote, and as the case may be, because at the end of the day you have persons who are elected and they may not have the interest of, they may have the majority and acceptance of the people. So let us amend the law to have a threshold that at every election there's also a so registered number of voters at every polling unit must be able to cast their vote and vote. And when it's less, the election should be shifted. And for any person to be declared winner, the person must have scored at least 50, some percentage of votes cast in the election, as the case may be. So that is what I think there's need for us to do some constitutional amendment. Now, you have the issue of beavers. Sorry if I have to digress. You have the issue of beavers. There are cases where they say that beavers failed to manufacture and they failed to accredit. One of the innovations brought by INEC is the beavers. And what is the work of the beavers? First is to do accreditation. So where the beavers are failed to accredit or is not working well, then that means accreditation has failed in that case. Then after accreditation, the people should also, after accreditation, people have to queue up and vote, and in the case may be. Then from EC8A has to be generated to prove there is election was conducted at a particular polling unit, as the case may be. So these are all issues that INEC has to take care of. BVAS needs to be strengthened because at every tribunal, after the election, if an unsuccessful candidate approach the tribunal, part of the way to prove there is overvoting or non-accreditation or disenfranchisement of electorate at every polling unit is by tendering of the vote of BVAS. The Supreme Court have insisted in the case of Oyotala versus INEC that the physical production of the BVAS is mandatory, backed by the BVAS report, which most of them must be tendered to prove overvoting, disenfranchisement, and what have you. So the INEC has credibly done well in this exercise, but it's still too early to judge. At least from now till 4 or 5, when the voting must have closed, we'll be able to judge INEC. And considerably from last experience we had in 2021, this is an improvement from what we had before.
All right. I must say thank you for taking out the time to joining us here, Barrister Bryson Vincent Otapopo, joining us all the way from Abuja to give us a bit of analysis following the turnout at the polls for the Anambra elections. Once again, thank you.
Yeah.
Away from the elections, Nigerians have been urged to demand urgent and citizen-centered action from the government amid rising cases of killings and insecurity across the country. Chairman of the Kuni Foundation and Fix Politics Initiative, Frank Nwike II, called on President Bola Tinubu to demonstrate the same urgency shown in responding to coup threats by deploying robust protection operations, holding monthly security briefings, and initiating a comprehensive review of internal security systems. He also advocated for data-driven transparency through an independent inquiry into acts of violence, improved strategic communication with religious leaders, and stronger diplomatic engagement. Nwike emphasized that true sovereignty lies in competence and respect for the rule of law, warning that Nigeria's persistent internal security lapses erode global confidence and must be urgently addressed to safeguard all citizens. The Nigerian police have paraded 2 suspects arrested for vandalizing railway infrastructure along the Agbo-Abraka corridor in Delta State, an act described as economic sabotage. The suspects, one from Kano and the other from Delta, were caught with metal components allegedly removed from the tracks. One suspect claimed to have been seized by herdsmen, accusing them of theft, while the other denied involvement. The Nigerian Union of Railway Workers linked frequent train derailments to vandalism or critical components, while the Nigerian Railway Corporation says it will adopt new strategies and called for government support in protecting railway assets.
From NRC, Nigerian Railway Corporation, left for Agbo, between Agbo and Abraka, to go and effect repairs of the vandalized railway tracks that led to the derailment. While they were working on the railway track, they noticed a group of persons advancing towards them. This group of persons they arrested 2 young men, Mudashiru and Bolori.
I'm not into railway business. As I go for an see all these boats where full of express lose them for the track. Because now farm I do for Obeako, Delta State, Okwani. Now, full investment and that they lose the railway track. As we reach there, they say we'll give the food. We not give the first day they say they can't show us all these boats. Say we walk and walk finish. Say we'll park the boats. Really, we can't park the boats. They go as that's all these social boats. Can't park the boat. They go as the second day as we they go farm. Now they call us. Say we'll come there buy something. Come we not come green. Now they can't tie us. Say now we they take railway boats.
The incessant accidents we've been having, these are the causes of it. Because this is the major component that holds our track. If this is removed, certainly any train that arrives at that location will have to derail. And so, the railway workers have been doing their best to see that we carry people from one location to the other. But the best that Nigerians give to railway workers whenever every accident occurs is condemnation. Despite the decay infrastructure and limited tools to work, we are still putting our best to see that rail system is still functional in Nigeria.
Now, what caused them taking these assets is people calling them scrap. They are not scrap. So we also want to talk to those companies that are set up to use scrap metals or scrap aluminum. Our materials are critical national assets. They are not scrap. They are either serviceable or unserviceable. Serviceable means they are useful to us, we are using them. Or serviceable means we don't need them again, but we now repurpose them. So when we have a long iron or slippers, we melt it and make bolts. Now we have people going to even remove it from the track to go and sell to company registered under Nigerian law to start melting them. And these companies are now getting short of raw materials. They are getting short of scrap all over the world.
You're watching news now on News Central Television. Coming up, former Kenyan President Kenyatta eyes 2027 comeback. We have the details of this and more after the break. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. It's off to Kenya, where the former president of the country, Uhuru Kenyatta, has unveiled plans for a political comeback ahead of the 2027 general elections with a renewed focus on revitalizing his Jubilee Party. Now, speaking at the party's National Delegates Conference in September 2025, Kenyatta rallied for supporters behind his renewed political ambition, with former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i reportedly being groomed as his preferred flag bearer. The move signals Uhuru's return to opposition politics after losing power in 2022 to President William Ruto. Kenyatta says he aims to rebuild the Jubilee Party from the ground up, restore its legacy, and unite its members to challenge the current administration. However, critics question whether this is a genuine comeback or simply a bid for revenge against his longtime political rivals. And off to Cameroon, where grief and politics collided on Thursday as mourners gathered for a memorial service in Douala to honor those killed in post-election violence. On the same day, President Paul Biya was sworn in for another term in office. The president offered condolences to the victims but blamed what he called irresponsible politicians for the unrest that has left dozens dead. Our correspondent Kathleen Ndumo reports.
Inside Douala's Cathedral Notre Dame, grief hangs heavy in the air. Families gathered not to celebrate, but to mourn victims of a disputed election that has torn Cameroon apart. Opposition figures and activists were among those in attendance, their presence a direct challenge to the authority being celebrated simultaneously.
Comme vous le savez si bien, cette prestation de serment se fait sur les corps des Camerounais. Sur les corps des Camerounais. Sur une émotion de trahison du peuple camerounais. Et nous avons eu ces derniers jours une déshumanisation des citoyens. On a traité nos enfants, nos jeunes. Il me manque même de mots pour dire comment on peut tirer, comment on peut être un chef d'État et tirer sur les citoyens sur lesquels on est supposé gouverner.
In the capital city, just kilometers away, a very different scene as the memorial coincided with President Paul Biya's swearing-in ceremony in Yaoundé, his 8th term in office as he took the oath to extend his rule.
Et jurez-vous solennellement devant Dieu et devant les hommes de consacrer toutes vos forces à conserver, protéger et défendre la Constitution et les lois de la République du Cameroun.
In his inaugural address, Biya offered condolences to victims of the violence, but blamed what he called irresponsible politicians, accusing some in the diaspora of fueling the unrest.
J'en appelle au sens des responsabilités des uns et des autres. Et je m'adresse à tous ceux qui sont pour attiser la haine et la violence dans notre pays, notamment à certains de nos compatriotes de la diaspora. Le Cameroun n'a pas besoin d'une crise post-électorale dont les conséquences pourraient être dramatiques, comme cela s'est vu sous d'autres cieux.
Human rights groups, however, say state forces share responsibility, alleging that dozens of protesters were killed, have been arrested, or simply disappeared.
Nous voyons bien que ce que nous, les êtres humains, nous avons décidé, c'est-à-dire de donner notre pays, de confier notre Cameroun à un autre berger, nous les troupeaux. Vous voyez bien qu'on nous a refusé ce troupeau, ce berger. Et qu'on nous a mis à la place quelqu'un qui sait, parce qu'on le lui a dit, que pendant 43 ans, il nous fait vivre la misère, la souffrance, la honte internationale. Et qu'il fait mentir des concepts comme démocratie, élection, pouvoir du peuple par le peuple.
Rights groups estimate that at least 48 people have died since protests began after the disputed October 12 elections. Opposition leader Issa Chiroma Bakari insists he won the election, while Biya officially secured 53.7% according to the Constitutional Council. Back at the cathedral, as mourners filed out into Douala streets, the contrast could not be more apparent. One Cameroon celebrating, another Cameroon grieving. And the death toll continues to rise as the nation remains divided over an election many believe was stolen and the presidency others say has lasted far too long. For News Central, I'm Kathleen Ndongmu.
And off to Tanzania's prosecutors have charged over 100 people with treason for alleged involvement in violent protests that broke out during last week's general elections. The main opposition party, Chadema, and some human rights activists say that security forces killed more than 1,000 people. The government has called those numbers exaggerated without offering its own death toll. The charges are the first against people accused of having participated in the protests.
Today, the 7th of November 2025, all these ladies and gentlemen, numbering more than 250 in total, were arraigned in 3 separate cases before the resident magistrate court of Dar es Salaam at Kisutu, and they're all charged with 2 sets of offenses. Number 1, the first set of offense is conspiracy to commit treason. It's not even a secret because we made presentations in court that they've been tortured, very serious torture. Some exhibit outward signs of injury. We made presentations challenging the validity of the charge sheet. We also requested, as I said before, the court to facilitate through the Tanzania Prison Services the affording of medical services to all the accused, including NIFA and strong income. The court has acquiesced, so that point is moot. But also, we've made presentations challenging the validity of the charge sheet. The prosecution have asked for time to come and rebut our presentation, so we'll reconvene again on the 11th of November.
U.S. President Donald Trump has expressed optimism that the war in Ukraine will end in the not-too-distant future. Trump made this known during a White House meeting with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The two leaders discussed efforts to bring peace to the conflict, with Orban highlighting the need for pro-peace voices amid international divisions. Both Trump and Orban conveyed hope for a resolution amid the war's enduring challenges, signaling a shared focus on ending the conflict through negotiation. Palestinians from the northern West Bank have been violently dispersed by the Israeli military while protesting settler land seizures. The protests turned tense as soldiers fired live bullets and tear gas, injuring at least 15 Palestinians, including at least 2 who suffered from rubber-coated metal bullets. The march was against a new illegal settlement outpost in the area. Witnesses said Israeli forces chased protesters through nearby fields after Friday prayers.
إنه هاي الأرض أرضنا أبا عن جد ولا يمكن أن نسمح لهم بأن يستولوا عليها بأي ثمن، ونحن هنا باقون، مازال الشجر الزيتون باقي هنا، نحن هنا. اليوم بيت ليد وكفر قدوم في فعالية هنا لإزالة هذه البؤرة الاستيطانية المتواجدة أصلا في مناطق تصنف مناطق باعتداءات المستعمرين على هذه البؤرة. ما أنت ترى هذا القمع من قبل جيش الاحتلال الذي يشارك هؤلاء المستوطنين بإطلاق الرصاص الحي، إطلاق قنابل الغاز، لكن مصرين كل أبناء شعبنا في القريتين على إزالة هذه البؤرة المتواجدة هنا في المناطق المصنفة مناطق بي.
احنا طالعين هنا لأنه تفاجأنا في تاريخ 25 الشهر اللي فات انه اجوا مستوطنين على 20 شجره زيتون روميات عمرهن لا يقل عن 70 سنه، قطع ال 20 زيتونه هذول، فوجئنا هن في منطقه بقى في منطقه.
President Bola Tinubu has approved a 15% import duty on petrol, sparking widespread concern among Nigerians and analysts who warn it could worsen inflation and living costs. The directive, issued on October 21st to the FIRS and the NMDPRA, is expected to raise petrol's landing costs by 99 naira 72 kobo per litre, pushing pump prices in Lagos to about 964 naira 72 kobo. Critics, including economist Marcel Okeke and NLC's Chris Onyeka, call the policy anti-people, arguing it favors the $20 billion Dangote refinery and burdens consumers. And finally, in sports, the Super Eagles captain William Troost Ekong, prolific striker Victor Osimhen, and goalkeeper Stanley Nwabali headline Nigeria's 24-man squad named by head coach Eric Chile for next week's 2026 FIFA World Cup African Playoff Tournament in Rabat, Morocco. Also listed are dependable defenders Bright Osei Samuel and Kevin Bassi, alongside midfield stalwarts as Alex Nwobi, Wilfred Ndidi and Frank Onyeka, as well as attacking wingers Samuel Chukwueze and Ademola Lukman. Among the goalkeepers, Onyeka's inclusion was widely anticipated. The Udinese short stopper is back in the national fold for the first time since June. His recall follows sustained calls for his reinstatement after recent doubts surrounding Stanley Nwabali's consistency. And that's pretty much all that we can take at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Now, we're following the elections as voting is now underway in Anambra as 16 candidates are vying for the governorship seat. Nigerian Railway Corporation is seeking government intervention in protecting its tracks. And off to Kenya, where the country's ex-president Kenyatta is eyeing a 2027 comeback. Now, to remember, if you're out there on the roads, make sure to send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing up on the screen. And also tag us on social media. We're at News Central TV on every social media platform. You can always watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, on GoTV channel 23. Find us on Star Times channel 274. We're also on Avo TV, and you can stream us live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV. Bye for now.